Okay, so now we start to get into the fun parts because we're crossing over into the STC now, which is the practical of why it's important to recognize that this is the truth. Because you have to model, represent, image the truth in order to have a true life. And that's how you do away with the eternal restlessness of the spirit and the power game that results from trying to use other beings as a substitutionary sacrifice to delay the inevitable of being dead. We have over here the immaterial. The immaterial creates the material to be the representation, the idol, the body, to be part of the representation, the body, the idol of himself. The word, the second member of the Trinity, is that image. That other type of material that I talked about, when the immaterial creates the material, and he virtually takes shape upon himself when he pulls back his omnipresence for Tehom to exist. You'll see why I say virtually later in the video, but that material that he takes upon himself is going to be different from Tehom, because being part of him is going to start off ordered, whereas Tehom starts off disordered. So that sets the pace for quite a few differences between the two. between the two. And it's easy to see how that material can be portrayed as white because Tehom is black. And this might even be the material that makes up the spirit beings, because that everything created is material. It has shape, so it has time, it has energy and matter or matter equivalent. So contrary to a lot of traditions in Christianity, spirit beings are not immaterial. Only the creator is immaterial because he's before creation. He's before shape. He's before space. He's before everything material. And so it's also easy to see how this spirit matter can be represented as heaven, Tehom represented as earth in the image of the yin yang, for example. But the heaven and earth language is universal. The yin yang symbol and any symbols like it is just a representation of this universal language of heaven and earth. One of the most ancient symbols that exists in paganism comes from Europe, where the goddess is represented as a female and the god is represented as a bull. Paganism doesn't really have an explanation for what that means. But when you come to the Bible, and I believe that's because it doesn't have the paganism doesn't know the truth. There's not even a recognition that the truth exists in paganism. I'll explain more about why this is later, but it has to do with the fact that a neglectful origin is necessary for magic. Paganism doesn't have an explanation for the bull female thing, but in the Bible, where you have the preservation of the truth as this male white, it makes sense because the eternal truth is the eternal food that is sufficient to sate the everlasting hunger of Tehom. Tehom being his utter opposite is dead. By feeding on him, by offering his life to Tehom, the truth can create Tehom into creation, what we have now. All right. And so another important thing to point out here is that sacrifice biblically is very different from sacrifice in paganism, because biblically the primordial man, that is the truth, sacrifices by offering his life to Tehom. So sacrifice is creation in the Bible. That's why the Bible doesn't argue about submission in marriage and this kind of thing. It's because purpose is self-offering, and that's the only way that you get the relationship that's inherent in the triune truth. Every member of the Trinity is self-offering to each other, and so the truth never works against himself. If you're part of the truth, that self-offering is coming to you. Your material is being conformed to him, and his nature you're participating in. The nature of your material is now being conformed to him as it's feeding on him. And his nature you're participating in. The New Testament says we participate in the divine nature. So you're also growing into this self-offering. And so you're not at war with the truth, and you're not at war with anybody else who's part of the truth. Are you starting to see how this is getting fun now? Okay. So the way that this relates to the sexes is what I'm going to talk about in part 2. I could do it now, but I don't want to put too much time on this video. So part 2 next.